morning and welcome to Brandenburg News Network. I am Donna Brandenburg and it's the 13th day of May 2025. Welcome to our show. Today we're going to be talking about government totally rogue, off the rails, and doing the wrong thing. So at 9 o'clock we're going to be starting with John Tatar, and then at 10 o'clock it will be Mike Bambas. John's going to be talking about lawful defense and how we can defend ourselves, and Mike Bambas, kind of the same thing on pro se. How you doing this morning, John?
I'm doing well. Doing well.
What's happening in John world?
Oh, all kinds of things. But I got a song.
All right, let's do the song.
So I got a song, and it's kind of fitting. So we'll start with that.
Okay.
If you visit American cities, you will find them very pretty. Just two things, so what you must beware is don't drink the water and don't breathe the air. Pollution, pollution. They got smog, sewage, and mud. Turn on your tap and get hot and cold running crud. See the hell of it and the surgeons being wiped out by detergents. Fish gotta swim and birds gotta fly, but they don't last long if they try. Pollution, pollution, you can use the latest toothpaste, then rinse your mouth with industrial waste. Just go out for a breath of air, and you'll be ready for Medicare. The city streets are really quite a thrill. If the hoods don't get you, the monoxide will. Pollution, pollution, wear a gas mask and a veil. Then you can breathe as long as you don't inhale. Lots of things that you can drink. Just stay away from the kitchen sink. Breakfast garbage that we throw away, we drink for lunch on Michigan Way. Pollution, so go to the city. See the crazy people there, like lambs to the slaughter. They're drinking the water and breathing the air.
That's fun. You know what? I love that because on my rampage against the DNR is part of the problem in the state of Michigan, as well as all the weaponized agencies. And there's more truth to that than what we want to admit, I'm afraid.
Yes, and the reason it kind of fitting is we're not only being polluted by the air and the water, but we're being polluted by the government.
Yeah, I think we're
the old government, the old guard that is going to be going away very soon.
Well, I got two things to say about this because staff members at the Library of Congress denied access on Monday to two Justice Department officials who had been tapped for top positions there as part of a shakeup initiated by President Trump. I'm telling you, we've still got a lot of criminal element in our government. I think they're going in the right direction, but there's a problem. And here's another one about Google. This is crazy because everything's been weaponized. The recent court documents show that Google's internal testing demonstrated that significantly worse search results would not harm their business operations. This apparent immunity to quality concerns stems from the company's dominant market position, which in the recent federal court ruling addressed, since Google doesn't have any real competition, it can make the best information hard to find, forcing users to stay on Google for longer and interact with more ads. This is dangerous for consumers, most of whom think the best results appear first. The strategy appears to be working from a business perspective. The study suggests that poor organic search results actually benefit Google's bottom line in two ways. They make paid advertisements more valuable to users seeking accurate information, and they force users to refine their searches multiple times, exposing them to more advertising in the process. It's all about the freaking money, John. It's all about the money.
Well, it's more than money. It's control. They have all the money. They have all the money they need because the Federal Reserve just prints it off like paper, on paper. They don't have any backing, so it's all fake, phony, and funny money. It's all fake, and so the people need to understand that all that they are seeing, if they just go through the surface of it, and there's a lot of younger generation that just looks at Google, and Google gives them an answer, and then they spout the answer off without really doing any research, really looking into what's going on. That's a problem. But that's hopefully something that we're correcting over time by education. The only way we can do it.
Well, here's two more things that I think are important, because this brings up the Trump factor. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent just revealed that the Chinese said during their closed-door talks that they ignored their trade commitments under Biden because they knew he was weak. And the Trump administration announced Monday that it has launched an investigation into California's cash assistance program for immigrants, a state program that provides monthly cash benefits to aged, blind, and disabled non-citizens who are ineligible for Social Security benefits due to their immigration status. You can't make this stuff up.
This is the nonsense that we've been fed all along by the deep state government. And the thing with the deep state government is their whole philosophy is control of the public, control of the people. That's what this is all about. The funny money system, they don't need to worry about money. They got all that they want because they have an unlimited credit card, which they can use at whim, and they do not pay it back. So,
well, we only have $3 trillion of actual money in circulation. And we've got 156 trillion or something like that in unfunded liabilities. It's all ones and zeros. It's all basically
fake.
It's fake. It's just fake. What they say they have on the balance sheet, but they don't even have anything to back it. I mean, it's just relies on what we believe. This is so much nonsense. I can't even believe it.
We were preaching the whole idea of the funny money system collapsing years ago. There are tons of books out on the collapse of the federal dollar, Federal Reserve note, and so on and so forth. This stuff has been going on for a long, long time. The problem with it is that we're just now getting out of the sleepiness, out of the cocoon of the Federal Reserve, and starting to wake up and realize what's really going on. And it's taken a long time. I've been at this for 40 years, trying to get people to wake up to reality. And that's been a real challenge. Because
I think some of what we need to do is exercise our brains a little bit, and that doesn't mean sitting in front of a TV. One of the things that I started doing is I used to speak French pretty decently. I mean, okay enough to communicate, and I still understand that. I've studied French and Spanish, but I decided to learn Italian. So and that's pretty easy jump from either French or Spanish. So that's my new adventure right now. And I think when we exercise our minds in these different ways, we actually keep ourselves sharper than just sitting there. You got to question everything, try new things, be like you were when you were a little kid, and be curious about things, and then try things out, to expand your knowledge.
That's right. You have to be constantly engaged mentally. The mind is just a muscle, just like lifting weights and so on and so forth. If you don't lift weights with your brain atrophies and you become a vegetable, a couch potato, if you want to call it, or whatever, because that's all you can handle is something that's going on in front of you, entertainment, because you can't think about it for yourself.
Well, I tell you what, I've got my new website that it's up. I just got to populate it with information. And I think I'm going to start working on that this week a little bit, because I've done so much research on the DNR and on some of these corporations to connect the people, how they're connected, who they are, pointing them out and such. And so maybe if I can get off my behind a little bit, I can have this thing up and running by next week, and we can talk about some of this, because I really do think that we have to have back to the fact that Google's hiding search results for real information. There's ways to find it, but you can't go to the normal sites. You got to go to other places. And I think that this maybe help people see what's really going on here.
That's right. It is important especially if you're in a suit with a public functionary, that you read the cases that they cite, because 99.9% of the cases they cite either do not fit because they're inappropriate to be used. They are saying exactly the opposite. And I can tell you stories about judges that tell you that a case says something when it really doesn't. It's like that they're ignorant, that they don't think that you're going to read the case, so they can just say anything about the case and commit perjury in a courtroom because they do not believe that they can be held accountable for that. But as the Democrats have said all this time, nobody's above the law, including judges, even though the judges think they're above the law because they think that they're there to adjudicate the legal system. They're not above the law. They're no different than anybody else. And their job description, because they wear a black robe, doesn't protect them. They can be sued individually and should be sued individually, because it's not the robe that's lying to you, and it's not the court that's lying to you. It's the judge that's lying to you. So,
well, I tell you what, I sued somebody in the Bureau of Elections. That was my last lawsuit. And you know what the Attorney General's office did? They sicked 5 attorneys on me, and they falsified documents.
Well, that's when you go after them for fraud.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the next step. We're working on that today. And when I get this lawsuit and the other ones out there, I think I'm just going to throw them out there, because you know what? People need to know what these people are doing and how they're subverting the law through the judicial, supposedly injustice department, so that you can see exactly what they're doing. They sent me a book, and every one of their claims was ridiculous because they actually changed. They had the audacity to change the type of case it was. They falsified documents, and they flat out lied. They said they contacted me. They never contacted me. It ended up.
That's the big lie that they use on me all the time.
Yeah, they never contacted
me and asked me for concurrence in a particular case. Never called me. Never sent me an email.
No, they didn't call. They didn't send an email. They didn't file it on my file. They didn't do anything.
Don't you do that though?
Yeah, don't you do that, or we're gonna threaten you and throw you in the clink, you know. But by golly, they can do it. And I'm kind of like, it's like everything else, you know, you get into things and you find out how bad it really is. I'm gonna tell you what, the DNR right now, I think we're making I'm making some connections to some of the large corporations that are actually trying to steal our land through the DNR. So not only did Whitmer weaponize all of the organizations within our government towards us in 2020 and the COVID nonsense, but they're weaponizing the DNR, and they have unchecked power. They can do whatever they want. They can come and allege anything on your property, take it, and you have to sue them to get it back.
Well, that's part of the problem that we have to do, but see, they don't think you're going to sue them. They think
they're wrong on that. Their assessment would be
wrong. Nowadays, they're definitely falling on their own sword, because they think that we're dumb and stupid and we're not going to do anything. I filed a lawsuit against 3 judges. 3 judges. Yeah, 3 judges. What the heck's his name? Well, let's start from the back. Nugent. Nugent's the first one for telling me that I was incarcerated. Donald C. Nugent of Cleveland, Ohio. Then against Cole, who's in R. Cole Jr., who is a appellate judge, and Yonker, who is a judge in your neighborhood, Grand Rapids. And I just got a response from the Attorney General, Assistant Attorney General in Michigan, and she's given me 4 reasons. She's presented 4 reasons why I can't sue them. And I'm going to read those to you just because
Is her name Heather by any chance?
No. I'll tell you what it she's another one. What is her name? Julie A. Beck, acting U.S. State Attorney.
What I don't understand is why they send the Attorney General's office to defend those that we bring suits against instead of saying, wow, maybe they're breaking the law and maybe we should look into this.
Because they had no other option here. And I'm not giving them credit for this, but these are the 3 judges I was suing in the state of Michigan and the U.S. District Court. 5 judges recused themselves from this case. They didn't want to get involved. So Judge Berg thinks he's cool and he stepped up, Terrence G. Berg, and he's stepped up and he's going to handle this case in this action. And here's the 4 reasons that she says, and she numbers them wrong. On her document, she's using Roman numerals. She uses Roman numeral 1, Roman numeral 2, Roman numeral 3 appropriately. And then for Roman numeral 4, she puts a V. This is an assistant attorney general.
This is a problem. I
really even know how to use the Roman numeral system. That's number 1. But here's what she says. Number 1, she says whether defendants are entitled to absolute judicial immunity when plaintiffs' claims against them arise from their official duties as federal judges. That, first of all, is a lie. I'm not suing them as official duties because if it's okay for a judge to lie on the record, commit perjury in a courtroom, then I guess it's an official duty that he can lie in his official duty. He can make stuff up. He can fabricate stories about me in particular, saying that I was incarcerated. Then if that's allowable because he's a judge, then okay, it's official. It's his official duty, and I couldn't sue him individually. But that's BS.
Well, let's push it further. If it's outside of to ridiculousness, okay, on this immunity issue. If a judge can do anything and they have immunity, what's to say they can't go out and murder someone? Oh, well, you know what I mean? The point is that
well,
if they have immunity,
as long as this guy gets shot in the courtroom, it'd be all right.
Yeah,
if he got shot on the street, he couldn't do that. But if he's got his black robe on and the guy comes in the courtroom and he shoots him in the courtroom, then it's his official duty and it's okay. I mean, that's
I'm just saying the judge could commit something like that. It's not against the judge. The judge could commit a crime against someone up and including murder at this point in time. And it would fall under the immunity. That's how ridiculous this is, because it's saying it doesn't matter if they commit a crime.
That's right. Is liable a crime?
Yeah,
yes, it is. Liable is a crime. You can get sued for being liable, for saying something on the record, for saying something in writing against somebody else. You can be held for liable. Well, isn't this judge, when this judge lies about my condition, liable? Isn't he liable for that? How about this attorney? How about this U.S. Deputy Attorney? Isn't she liable? Because she's making up a story here that these judges are immune because they have officially they're in there on the bench and they have a robe on and therefore they can lie. Isn't that liable?
Right. The problem is that they've all broken the law at this point in time because they don't even know what their job description is or what they've sworn an oath to.
I'm sorry, I got a car that just drove up in my driveway, so I'm wondering what that's all about.
Oh, no. Well, Power Tyrant said, Mike Bambas is so informative. I expect your feed to be interrupted a lot. The usurpers and devils don't want his message to get out. That is true. Now John's got cars coming on his driveway.
I'm going to just step up and see what the heck's going on. Might be a delivery. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, this is what we do here, guys. It's real news for real people at the kitchen table.
It's a delivery, so I'm not worried about it. Okay, that was the first thing. Judges are immune because they're in their official duties, so they can lie on the bench. That's what she's basically saying. Then she says, number 2, Roman numeral 2, whether plaintiff's constitutional claim lacks subject matter jurisdiction where defendants are federal officials, and that there is no there's no implicit waiver of sovereign immunity for plaintiff's constitutional claim. In other words, I have to ask the judge, can I sue you? And if he doesn't give me this waiver, then I can't sue him. That's what is that? That's BS too. That's another one. Then that means that any public functionary who has a public function in government cannot be sued because he hasn't given you the permission to sue him. Give me a break.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
That's number 2. Number 3, whether plaintiff's tort claim lacks subject matter jurisdiction because of the FTCA, which is the Federal Tort Claims Act, granting defendants absolute immunity from the state law tort claims. I read that claim. And it says nothing about that. It says as long as he's within his job description and he hasn't committed any crime, any actions of malice, then he is safe. But these judges didn't create malice when they lied on the record. So that number 3 is BS. And the 4th one, which she labels as number 5, whether the court should appoint a special master. And she's saying that the special master isn't necessary because both parties would have to ask for it. So I basically said, I've been at this since 2012, and I've been fighting these cases with different judges, and I listed them all. But Judge Battani is one of them. Parker is another. Of course, there's Nugent and Cole and Yonker, all of those judges. And I never had any resolution, nor had I even had my case heard in court. They won't let me in the courtroom. They say you've submitted enough documentation and we're going to base it on the documentation. And then the opposing party lies on the document. And how can I confront that person?
And you don't have a voice because they won't let you in court. You don't have a voice. So you should sue them for First Amendment violations. They've taken your voice.
Yes, that's all coming. So my point here is this Attorney General, if Berg rules against me over this crap, he's the next on the list, and so's the Attorney General. I'll put them both on the list and sue the 2 of them on top of Nugent, Cole, and Yonker. We're going to keep this thing going.
Just holding bad guys accountable, one person at a time.
That's right. They lie and cheat on the record, and therefore they're going to be held accountable for their actions. Nobody is above the law. And I forgot to write that in my claim, but I'm going to put that in there. Nobody's above the law. Remember?
Well, and the thing of it is that what they're planning on doing is just to basically dazzle us with their BS. And that when they answer claims, you get a book, okay? They'll sit there and give you a book on what you've done wrong and what justifies them to have like summary judgment or dismissal. That's what they do. And just because they wrote it, as you've said many times, doesn't mean it's true. The whole process is messed up.
Yes, it is. And remember Webster versus the Reproductive Services court case that says just because you say it's so doesn't make it so. It has no place in the judicial system. Actually, I should read that little quote to you. But I'm using that quite extensively in this case, where this Attorney General is making stuff up. Just because you say it so doesn't make it so. And that's the Supreme Court talking. So how is she going to overcome that? Well, they overcome it through lies and deception, because they think that you're not going to read the case, you're not going to understand the case. In
We're
fact,
peasants.
Mike Bambas came up with a case, one of the judges, actually two cases, where these judges supposedly have absolute immunity. And he gave the cases to me, and I've read the cases, and it doesn't say anything like that. And so that's I think I might have even spoke about that last time out, but it's something we should probably review again. Judges do not have absolute immunity. That's a crock.
They're just buffaloing everybody all the time, and then expecting that we're going to turn away from this and just say, oh, that they're right. They must know better than us because they've got lots of letters behind their names.
Well, they wear a black robe and they're all protecting you. We know that the bar is protecting each other. They're members of the same club, and they're protecting each other through this membership. And so they don't want a pro se to win against an attorney. That would really look bad on the attorney. But here's a little the opinion. This is out of Webster versus Reproductive Services. The opinion contains not, and they're talking here about, I'll read the whole paragraph. Finally, the plurality asserts that trimester framework cannot stand because the state's interest in potential life is compelling throughout pregnancy, not merely after viability. The opinion contains not one word of, this is the court talking, the opinion contains not one word of rationale for its view of the state's interest. It is so because we say it's so. Jurisprudence constitutes nothing other than an exercise of brute force, reason, much less persuasive, has no place in court. So basically says, hey, just because you say it so doesn't make it so, prove it. That's Webster. And that's a great point to point out to all of these moron judicial people in the system that think that they have, just because they're a judge and they say something to you, it is the fact, it is the law. It is not. You need to prove that by Supreme Court cases, by the Constitution, and so on and so forth. This is the crap they throw at us, and people buy into it. So in your particular case, when they're giving you verbiage that really has no basis in law, you got to ask them, where did you come up with that?
Well, first off, they outright lied and said they had contacted me and we couldn't come to an agreement. They never contacted me. They never posted it on my file. And the paperwork came in the same envelope as the call for dismissal. There was no communication. It was in the same envelope. These people flat out lied.
That's what they do.
And these are official, supposed to be official documents. That means they perjured themselves on top of it.
That's true. But you see, they have supposedly the power of a notary as an attorney. They're their own self-authenticating signature. When they sign it, it's because they're a officer of the court. They are self-authenticating, meaning that they're telling the truth. Well, that is a problem because you can't hold them unless you put them under oath. And you can't get them under oath if you can't get into court to put them under oath.
Right.
And so you really can't hold them for perjury because it's their signature. If you signed a document and you didn't have it notarized, it wasn't in an affidavit format, then they would say it's hearsay. Well, that's all the attorney has given you is hearsay. So how do you hold them against that? It's very difficult. They can lie, cheat, and steal because, again, they're self-authenticating, which needs to be removed. That power needs to be removed from them.
Yeah.
Until we do that, we have these problems.
Yeah. So here's a question. I'm gonna get off the rails here a little bit. The Israel says recognition of Palestine state will force unilateral actions in response. And what do you think of President Trump moving Israel off to the side?
I think, and I've been thinking this for a long, long time, President Trump is sitting at a negotiating table, planning table, whatever. He's got the map. He's got the roadmap on how this process is going, and we don't see it. So as long as we don't know what the initial plans are, we know what the end result should be. And we're hoping for the end result to be that. But he's getting us to that end result. And he can't tell us every step of the way, because then he's informing the enemy how he's getting there. So since we don't know the plan, it's very difficult for me to say he's doing the right thing or the wrong thing. I don't know. I'm not there. I'm not making those plans.
Right.
He's got a big staff behind him. It's like General Patton in the World War II. He plans how he's going to go after the Germans and kick them out of a certain area or beat them in a certain area. Nobody knows how he's going to do that. Only the general knows. And then he gives it down to his subordinates. And he only gives them part of it. He doesn't give them the whole picture, because he can't. If he gave them the whole picture and that general got picked up by the enemy and they leaned on him and he somehow ended up giving up that information, then the general's plans would be out the window. So Trump has got a plan going. He knows where he's going. He's been doing this since 1900s and 1990s. They've been planning this process. We don't know what that plan is. We don't know how Israel fits in that plan. I can't make that decision. I don't know.
I think it's fairly significant at this point in time, because we have so many people with dual citizenship with Israel. And Israel, the size of freaking New Jersey, gets more money than any other country by far on the planet. I don't understand the justification to this.
I don't either. But like I said again, I'm not at the planning stage of this process. I'm hoping Trump is doing the right thing, and he's not off the rails, and he's going to protect the country like he's been promising and turning it back over to the public. But what does that take? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what it takes to get rid of the deep state involved, and how he's going to present these issues to get the deep state out of there. He's got a monumental task. This is bigger than a war, because he's trying to keep peace. He's trying not to have this thing go to a revolution. He's trying to keep bullets from flying in America in a civil war situation, and trying to keep the deep state from keeping the lid on, to keep the deep state from doing what they could do, which is creating a lot of damage. And we don't know what his plan is, how he's pushing this plan. But so far, I can tell you, he's been doing the right thing.
Yeah. We do not want a kinetic war on our soil. I pray to God that it doesn't come to that. We've had so many people that have been shipping firearms and different weapons into the United States, including fentanyl and such. I think we've got a real problem here, but we're peeling it back. President Trump's bid to end birthright citizenship heads to the Supreme Court Tuesday. So today's the day. Hopefully this nonsense ends too. If you don't have, tell everybody about the birthright citizenship and what the protocol is for somebody who comes here and, has a baby.
There's no such thing as birthright citizenship.
Bingo.
They're using the 14th Amendment and saying that it's because you come to America, you're an American citizen. No, that's not what it said. This 14th Amendment was a Civil War amendment to bring in the back then slaves and make them American citizens. Not to say anybody that comes across the border and has a baby and it becomes an anchor baby. No, that's not what the 14th Amendment says. But the Democrats, and I hate to use that word, but I can't call them, or deep state, whatever you want to call them, those people came up with the, twist the words and twist the intent. Remember, it's the intent of the law that is the law, not something that's made up 10 years later or 100 years later. Same with the right to bear arms. The right to bear arms has history behind it. You can't say that the right to bear arms is only about muskets. No, it's not. It's about the arms are anything that the general police department and so on and so forth have, we can have. Because we actually gave them that authority. That's Downs versus Bidwell. We gave them, we're the sovereign. We gave them those, we've delegated those rights to the police department and so on and so forth to have certain weapons and so on. Because we are the ones that have the power to do the delegating, not the state government. And there again, it goes back to the judge. We've never delegated the judge's immunity. If we could delegate immunity, then we could all become immune. I'm immune to everything. All laws that go out there that because I'm the author of the law, I'm immune to everything. I'm being a little facetious here. If I break the law, according to the judges, I could be immune to that because I'm the one that is the sovereign. I'm the one that has the power, not the judges. So if the judges think that they can be immune, then, well, I can make immunity to myself too. But that's not, you can't do that. We either are a nation of laws or we're a nation of men. And we've always been a nation of law, except when the deep state started twisting the laws and making it for their own benefit. And that's what they've been pushing on us for years, and we've been buying into it, saying, oh, yeah, you can't sue a judge because he's immune or a police officer. No, that's not true. They're public functionaries. They step outside their duty, their job description, they can be sued. That's plain and simple.
Okay, Project 2025 architect Russell Vogt will lead Doge after Elon Musk steps down. He's so Project 25. What's your thoughts?
I'm not quite even sure what Project 25 is.
Well, I've been saying for a while that the people that President Trump has appointed is kind of like, not all of them, but a good deal of them are like burner phones. He literally put people in place that have a compromise background. And so I think that first string President Trump appointments are like a burner phone. It's going to use them for a little while, and then they're going to get removed or torched, and they're going to put the real people in place.
I am certain that Trump has got control over who he's hiring and firing. He knows what's going on. Again, I don't know what's going on in the FBI. I assume that Kash Patel and Bongino and who's the third guy that just got put in the deal? Was he in the deal? No, he's in the FBI. Martin. Those three are doing the job that they're supposed to be doing. Trump hires them. Trump can fire them.
I like Ed Martin. He's been on our show here, but I also know him. Last time I saw him, it was in D.C. I like that guy. He's a good guy.
Well, the point of the matter is Trump put them in there because he figured they'd do their job. If they don't do their job, I'm sure Trump will kick them out of there.
FBI releasing files. This is from Dan Bongino. FBI releasing files on COVID cover-up, Mar-a-Lago raid, and Epstein case, and more. Well, that brings me back to, I'm just going to say it, the James O'Keefe events this weekend. Yeah. Did you see what was going on there?
Well, I heard some of it, yeah.
What did you hear? Because I was actually there.
Well, you better tell that story better than me.
Well, I want to know what you heard, and then I'll tell you.
I was listening to X22, which just gave a slight blurb of what he was doing, and that he said he's not suicidal because he's going to be releasing information, and so basically that's the kind of stuff that I was hearing.
Well, I tell you what, I'm not buying like any of it, and I'll tell you why. He said he was going into hiding and this, that, and the other thing. He was right out in the open on a rooftop while spinning tunes as a DJ. And Dan, he was not hiding. He was out in the open. A sniper could have picked him up from any of the buildings around there. So I think the whole thing is just kind of a big act of something.
Oh, it could be. It could be.
Remember,
there's going to be a lot of disinformation,
right?
Well as information. Because
the other thing is too is I'm not buying Alex Jones is who he says he is now. I think they switched him out. Let me see if I can pull up a picture.
You know
of this.
what? I don't listen to Alex Jones because Alex Jones is a crisis. Everything's a crisis on his show.
Oh my gosh!
He has no way of resolving anything. He just creates anxiety and fear. Oh, the world's coming to an end, and I just that's not what's going on.
No, I'm kind of out. Hang on a minute. Hit the wrong button. Wrong lever. Hang on a minute. So let me show you. Yeah, I've actually got the videos of him doing the DJing. But I take pictures with everybody and try to talk to him. So there's James O'Keefe. And then let me scroll through it. I'm going to show you the Alex Jones thing. This was kind of something I had a problem as soon as I saw it. Oh, here it is.
Our children. If you harm.
See if you can see this one. All right. Check this out. Now, I'm going to tell you what. I don't care how much weight the fat Alex Jones lost. His face was never going to look like this dude on the left. And
that's very possible.
That's who they're putting out there as Alex Jones. Not happening. It's not even the same person. You can see the bone structure is even different, and he would have had to lose a lot of weight. But I think it's a deep fake or something that they're trying to give a nod to Anons or anybody who isn't going to buy their crap to say, yeah, I'm not going to buy in this. And the other thing about it, when Alex Jones came out and said, I'm the only one that O'Keefe told, and so I'm the dead man switch. Right.
Yeah,
keep talking. But here's the answer right there. It's time. The People's General. Let's put him in charge of national security advisor. I think
now that would be a good thing, so far as I can tell.
Yeah, he's got a.
There are a lot of people that think he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. But I said, in order to be a 3-star general, you have to somewhat play the game a little bit because you never got to that point. And
like I always say, I don't care what room you're in or who's in the room. That guy is the smartest guy in the room. He is. He's going to get in there and he knows exactly what he's doing, how he's doing it, and the how to move things in the direction of a good direction. And I do believe he's an incredibly good man. That's why they went after him so hard. So to all you Flynn detractors, you're just showing how stupid you are, and you really don't know.
Yeah, rather than calling them stupid, they're not informed. They're ill-informed, and they.
I think a lot of them are paid political operatives. They're like the
some of them are. But you know what? You listen to all of the media that's out there. There's a plethora of stuff going on, and everybody's got a take on what's going on and who's good and who's bad. And that's the problem. I don't know. I'm not sitting at that table. Trump put him in power. And if I believe in Trump, which I do, then I believe Trump is making the right decisions at this time. He might be putting him in power, like you're saying, as the first go round and then get rid of him later. We don't know that. He might. We don't know what the vice president of Trump did when he was vice president and what he did when he was at the Capitol. What's the last vice president?
Pence.
Yeah, we don't know what Pence did, and was Pence on the Trump side to get Biden in office? We don't know that, because we do know that we had to get Biden in office to wake the public up. So was Pence put there for that purpose? We don't know. Everybody thinks he's a traitor. I don't know that. I don't know for sure. I'm not there. I'm not at the table. I don't know how this whole process was set up.
We don't even know about the J6 people. I mean, we all speculate about what's going on, and we all listen to the news, but we really don't know. And so how can we make those complete, absolute judgments on what's happening when we are sitting back watching this show? We don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy. I think the biggest threat to the United States is the American people's reactions to things, honestly. And, that's what we've got to be careful of, because, there's so many people that are like, grab your torches and pitchforks and let's go after these guys. I'm like, that is the dumbest thing you could do. The smartest thing to do is to learn how the United States is supposed to work.
There you go.
It's not how it, we can look at what's wrong with it and say, this is not right, this is illegal, this is wrong. Okay, so sue them. Okay, sue the people that need to be sued. But the point being is that we got to get educated, because even if President Trump removed all the bad guys, who's going to step up? I talked to a guy the other day who really, we were talking about some things that were going wrong within Byron Township. It's a criminal organization, really, that filled with people who are ignorant, taking orders from above. And I said to him, I said, why don't you run? If we can have some change here, why wouldn't you run? I'm so busy, you don't understand.
Of course.
Well, I'm just a blue collar worker.
Yeah.
Okay, what does that have to do with anything? I'm sorry. Everybody thinks that I am absolutely like spitting money out of my mouth. That's not true. I work every day. You should have seen what we did yesterday. It was crazy getting ready for the bee stuff. Let me see if I can grab a picture. I'm going to post this a minute. And then everybody can just, we can just stop this nonsense. Because honestly, I literally go to work every day, just like everybody else does. Only half my day or more is working for free. Okay? So put that in your pipe and smoke it. It's like I'm not out there doing something every single minute of the day. Let's see. I'm going to get the best.
Do you remember what the big deception was during World War II when they were ready to do an amphibious landing in France? What the big
no, go ahead. I don't know where you're going with it, so just go ahead and say what needs to be said.
What was the big deception that the Americans did to the Germans during World War II when
the Ghost Army was really active, and I love that subject.
Well, what did they do with Patton?
You just tell everybody, because I don't know where you're going with this.
They stuck Patton a long way on the other side of the battlefield, and they built a regiment around him, battalions, and they had radio broadcasts, and they had balloons that looked like trucks and tanks and stuff, all in his area. And they put radio broadcasting back and forth to let the Germans know that Patton was stuck in, and I don't remember what city he was in, but he was stuck in a city, and he was not going to lead the invasion into France during that time period. And it screwed up the Germans that they didn't move their materials, their guns and materials to the coast, because they said, well, Patton's going to lead this thing. Nobody's going to, if Patton is out there, that's where the war is going to be. It's not going to be on the coast of France. This was a deception, World War II, and a big deception that it told the Germans or made the Germans believe that the war was going to be in a different location. And that's how we were able to be successful on the Normandy landing. But what's going on right now is the same kind of deception with Trump and his team. He's deceiving as much as he can the deep state, so they don't know where he's coming from.
That's right. But you know what, John? We can't talk bad about President Trump, because we can talk bad about General Flynn, which just drives me nuts. I'm not going to talk bad about either one of them.
That's right. I don't know. General Flynn may not be a good guy, but if he's being put in office by Trump, I suspect Trump knows a heck of a lot more about General Flynn than you and I.
I would expect. So
And
here's
we
my
can't-
crew yesterday. We put up, I call it my beeatorium, right? So we built this structure around where the beehives are in order to be able to put sunscreens over the top of it so that we can shade our bees. Denise says, I question Alex Jones because he wasn't arrested at the J6 event. His journalist Owen took the fall. And I don't know, folks. Flynn was involved with General McChrystal and Wetworks. I'll attempt to find the document where they were both set up, house to conduct Wetworks after leaving the military. And General Flynn is a great intel person who knows his way around the dark ops. Dangerous man that wears a lot of masks. I don't know. I never thought he was very, very dangerous. He's a really nice guy. So,
well, he might be dangerous,
but he knows a lot, and he's dangerous to the bad guys. I'll tell you that because he's unwavering. He's like, give me your best shot because you're going to take one shot at me, and shit's going to get real.
Keep in mind, your listeners ought to keep in mind that when you're in the swamp and you're being bit on by the alligators, you're not thinking about draining the swamp. You're trying to keep your butt from getting chewed
Trying
up.
to survive.
And over here, we're in this. Remember being in Obama's situation and Biden's situation and who they were and what they were doing. They were after Flynn. So, so we don't know specifically what he's doing and why he did what he did at this point. Only he can tell us what was the rationale behind his actions at that particular time with what was the other general's name with that general and the wet work business. We don't even know what that was all about.
Yeah.
So these are stories, bits and pieces, and sound bites that are brought out by the news media. And how much of that is true?
Yeah, why are we listening to this now when we figured out that they're fake news? Not only is mainstream media fake news, alternate media is fake news. They were all paid by USA. The only one that I know that absolutely bomb-proof, I know they didn't take the money, would be us, John. We did not take any money. So yeah, Denise says, citizens wouldn't last 5 minutes against people like Flynn. Taking up arms is crazy. People need to understand how the world really works, and no part is pretty. That's exactly right. If somebody's talking about taking up arms, you have just put yourself in the stupid person basket.
Exactly.
We have the right to do it. We have the right, but
and there may be a day that we meet.
It may not be a good idea, right?
This is not the time.
Just because you can do something doesn't mean it's a smart idea to do something.
That's
and
right.
I got a lot of questions on people like Kelly. So now Ryan Kelly is out there, with Garrett Soldano and people like I got to think of all their names, Kevin Skinner and now Rinke, the past people running for governor, okay, because they think they've got some support and such. But Kelly was at J6. I know somebody that said they saw the pictures of where he was incarcerated. She said it looked like a kid's camp. He wasn't in a gulag, according to her. He was playing around out in the woods somewhere at like a kid's camp. Didn't look like to her it was a big deal. And second of all, he literally tried to get people in trouble by asking them to bring firearms into the polling stations or to vote. And that means it's on school property. He was literally encouraging people to do things that were an insurrection. He did the same thing with inviting people into the capital of Michigan. At one rally I was at, as soon as I spoke, I was gone. My friends and I said, I spoke, I'm done. We went out, had lunch. And let's let these idiots decide what they're going to do together. I will not participate in this. And so he was asking people to go into polling locations and unplug freaking machines and bring guns in there as a protest and all I could say is it looked like a setup to me. And I'm going to say this again. Anybody that tells you to do that kind of stuff, the first question that you should be asking is he a political operative? And if so, who's paying him? And if so, I believe he got a $2 million house after he ran the last time. And if so, he did not challenge an area where he had less votes than he had people that contributed to his campaign. those all should be things that people should start thinking about instead of, oh, he's got a great smile. The flirt brothers. You had 3 people that were full-time flirting in the last election. Soldano, Kelly, and Tudor Dixon. And I had people coming up telling me, I had one guy in particular, he was over in Macomb. He said, I can't stand being in the same room with her because he said, she's got her hands on me all over the place all the time. And he said, I don't appreciate it. That was what I was told directly. And I could name the person, and it was kind of a crazy time. So now they're out there. They're, Soldano's in bed with Scott McMahon, who was involved in an organization that was literally, and this is from the Brian Ferentz report, that was literally compromising salad bars in red areas. This is what was reported, with E. coli or some such bio attack in red voting areas. And he was a member of this organization. And it says it's in a report. I put it out there a bunch of times, and it's by Brian Ferentz. I'm like, you can't make this stuff up. And they're all standing there together. And all the Republicans are like, we're Republicans. We're on the right side of the world. We're on the right party. This is the right one. Everybody's wrong because this is what we say, but it's not what we do.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did meet Kelly a couple of times.
Nice guy to talk to. I'm going to say that.
Full of
Great
a lot of hot air.
What's that?
He's full of a lot of hot air.
Yeah,
we asked him to learn some things, to read some things, and do some things, and he didn't do it.
He just
and as far as Soldano and the others you mentioned, they never returned my call.
Well, I caught Soldano and Scott McMahon on a broadcast one night, and they were just ripping on General Flynn. So I got in there and started texting on the channel. You should have seen their faces. They were like this. They were talking away, and all of a sudden they were like, because they saw me posting and calling them out for what they were doing. The reason why, and they're like, you need to tell General Flynn that we have to talk to him. Why would he waste his time if he already knows something about you and knows what you're doing? This guy isn't dumb. He's not a dumb guy. He's a smart guy. And he's got everybody figured out, including those deep state feds that are fedsurrection that are setting people up. Well, I had the Null brothers on yesterday. How come they were talking about kidnapping Whitmer? The feds setup. That they were set up by the feds in this. And now you got Kelly telling everybody to bring guns into the polling locations. Sure as hell he isn't going to be there, but encouraging people to do this and unplug machines. Don't you think there's a problem there in encouraging people to do things that are potentially putting them in grave danger? I'm going to bring Mike on just a minute. I mean, doesn't that make sense to you guys? I mean, you guys are smart.
Morning, guys. How you doing?
Good. How's Mike?
Living the dream as always.
Yeah, Mike, the family of Bambas. But, John, I got to go back to that. Wouldn't that make you stop and ask some questions instead of going, I like these people. They're so nice. Let's go have coffee.
The way the system has been set up in our government, in our country, was that we have the delegates. The delegates are supposed to go through the process of vetting these people running for office. They don't do that. Most of the delegates are brainless. They go there and they see somebody, and somebody smiles at them nicely or gives them a cookie or a lollipop or something, and they vote for him.
Nice.
Yeah, they vote for him. Oh, he speaks so well, rather than really vetting the person to find out who that person is. And so we end up with crap running in the office.
Look at Tudor Dixon last time. I cannot tell you how many times I heard men, and those men should be really ashamed of themselves. Like, I'm voting for her because she's hot. You know how many times I heard that?
Yeah. Well, I did hear that when I was running against Whitmer.
Yeah. Oh, they're hot. I want to look at them.
I'd rather look at her on television than you. That was their attitude.
And so this person is managing the state. You look like
my papers.
Yeah, you look like an idiot, guys, when you say stuff like that, like pathetic idiots. You know, you're going to have to figure out how to get yourself under control, because that isn't it.
That's
You
right.
know. But it was on the same. It was the same on both sides. I hate to tell you that every time. I'm going to say this. I'm going to be insulting right now to a lot of people. I saw so many women that looked like a bunch of dogs in heat crowding around these guys that I'm like, I'm going to put it in farmer terms. Y'all look like a dog in heat when you're sitting there hanging on these guys. Not a good look. Not okay. Not a good look. And everybody in the room is looking at you, thinking the same thing I'm saying right there. Keep your paws to home. Go get a husband or something and stop acting. So it's not okay. So you want to finish off with last words, or you want to stay on, John? I'm going to go to a quick break.
No, I have to go. I have another appointment at 10:30, so I got to get out of here. But
how do they find the women?
We're going to be reading a little more about Norton versus Shelby County at our meeting on Wednesday. You can come to and join us and learn about Norton versus Shelby County and the true republic and how the republic's supposed to operate by showing up, coming to Magnificent Republic, our website, and finding out how to get in, or write me, and I will send you the information and the court case so you could become involved with what's going on. But if you don't really know, if you're not really interested in learning, then I don't know what to tell you. Then do you deserve to live in a republic? Question is. And of course, Mike's going to talk about pro se, and being a pro se is the only way to go, because if you hire an attorney, then you are joining the civil action jurisdiction and you're giving up your Constitution. You don't want to do that. You want to go in pro se because the judge can't control you. That's what ticks them off the most, is that they think they have control, but when you walk in as a pro se, they can't do anything to you. Unless, of course, you are violent or something in their courtroom. But
what sets your jurisdiction? Which case sets the jurisdiction for being for being pro se and being able to stand under the republic? What do you say for that?
Well, when I go into court, I'm going in jure proprio, which means standing on my own rights. I'm not in the civil action jurisdiction. And I do spell that out in the court case, that I am in the republic, and you, Your Honor, swore an oath to the republic. And Article 4, Section 4 of the federal Constitution says we have a republic, and you swore an oath to the Constitution to support that republic. So that's where I start with my court case at the very beginning. I set the standards. I don't let them set the standards. There's a lot of people out there that think if you walk into the courtroom and you walk through the bar over there through the gate, then you're in a civil action. No, you're only in a civil action because you volunteer to be in there. Don't volunteer. Tell them that you're not in the civil action jurisdiction. Start right off the bat that I live in the republic, and so do you, Your Honor, and we can't operate in the republic and the civil action at the same time. So either we're in a civil action or we're in a republic. And since you swore an oath to the republic, that's where we're at. And that's
all right. Well, thank you for joining us, Mr. Tatar and Mike. I'm going to go for a quick break, and then we'll be back in exactly 1 minute with Mike Bambas, pro se, and how to fight lawfully. This is what I like about my Tuesdays. I got these two guys in here, and they've done it for a long time. And you know what? I love this time. So here we go, guys. I'll be back in 1 minute with Mike Bambas. Thanks, John.
So long, y'all.
morning. Welcome to the second hour of Brandenburg News Network. It is the 13th day of May, 2025. Welcome to our show. And I'm going to go right straight to bringing Mike Bambas on. Hey, Mike, how you doing?
Good morning. How you doing?
Really good. What's happening in Mike world today?
Oh, never ending. Last week I was talking about the doctrine I put out there, sovereign citizens versus terrorism. And I had sent out a series of FOIAs, and those FOIA responses are now coming in. And one of the primary ones, and I sent it over to you.
Let me see if I can bring it up here a minute. It always takes me a minute to get this. Did you send it this morning or before?
This morning, because I just received this last night. And it's from Genoa Township in Livingston County. And
I'll try to find it and put it up, okay?
But they basically responded that they have no knowledge of the FBI bulletin, nor are they enforcing the FBI bulletin of 2011, which means that their bar attorney that represents the township is either doing this as a rogue agent to the township, or the township is lying, trying to cover their own butts.
Tell me what the process is and what the rest of it is about the township covering their own butts. Start at the beginning of that.
Basically, this was a lawsuit brought against a woman that has property on a house in Genoa Township. She lives on a lake, and the house is situated up on a hillside. And she decided to put a platform deck about halfway down the hillside so she could sit out there and oversee the lake. Well, the township didn't like it. The zoning board told her she had to remove it, that she's not privileged, hence the word privilege, to have a second deck on her house, on her property. And
we all say that our constitutionalists, and why is that? That's her property.
I'm sorry?
And this is why all of us want to say to these people, this is her property.
Correct.
Why are they having an issue when she has the right to her own property? And why do you think you can legislate or threaten and coerce people into compliance to your little made up pretended laws and ordinances?
That's right, because the zoning board, I sent them as a FOIA back when this all started, requesting proof by documentation that the zoning board of Genoa Township is a de jure department. And their response was no such documents exist, proving once again that these departments are nothing more than de facto. They have no authority. And so by their own admission, they're admitting they have no authority. But yet this went to court, and the attorney, Dave Burris, who I've encountered on other issues before, was the attorney of record for Genoa Township. And they basically convinced Judge Geddes of the Circuit Court in Livingston County that ordinances are law, that they do have the authority to say what people can do and not do on their own property. This is completely falsehood, but they ran with it. And so they forced her to tear the deck down at her expense. And so what has happened now, my power's going on and off here.
Oh, yeah, they're going to try to interrupt this feed because they don't want this out there. But you know what? That's okay, guys. Keep it up. It's going to just get worse because we're going to continue on with this.
So what ended up happening was, I think it was about a month now, Dave Burris filed a brief in the circuit court, and contained within that brief is the FBI bulletin from 2011, claiming that this woman is using sovereign citizen tactics in her court briefs to increase costs and cause more problems. The brief that he put out there also mentions me, mentions several others, including Bradley Dean's show, The Sons of Liberty, and Tim Brown. And so I thought, okay, you know what? I've dealt with this guy before. So I launched the campaign to fight against it. The gal that who's involved in the lawsuit, she filed or attempted to file a rebuttal to this. Judge Geddes went on and for the record that she would refuse the rebuttal, that she was not allowed to file any motions in rebuttal.
Excuse me.
Gesundheit. And that Judge Geddes basically told her that if you file any motions, she goes, I'm considering all motions that you file now or in the future frivolous. And you will pay all the attorney fees if you file another motion. So talking about, violating one's inherent core due process rights here. So Judge Geddes, by that statement alone, is disqualified as a judge under Title 28, Section 455, for having a predetermination of the outcome of all events.
So they can't stop you from filing anything, can they?
No, she's a defendant. She has a right to defend herself in a court of law. Well, obviously, this is not a court of law. This is some Gestapo type of hearing. So I launched this campaign regarding sovereign citizens versus terrorism. And there's a public law that states that from May 3rd, 1940, that we, the sovereign citizens, are to be celebrated. We're not extremists. We're not terrorists. We are the ones to enforce and uphold the republic. And that the President of the United States has delegated the authority to announce that the third Sunday of May as we are Citizens Day, and that we're to be celebrated as sovereign citizens. So his entire brief is nothing but propaganda put out by the FBI. It states that all law enforcement are informed and apparently trained on this, as well as the bar and the courts, and that the courts are supposed to treat us a certain way. So that's a bias. It's a hate crime. It's discriminatory. And so I put out this doctrine, sovereign citizens versus terrorism, and put all the information in there regarding that we are to be celebrated. We are not, the extremists that he's trying to make it out to be. I also sent out a series of FOIAs to the FBI, Genoa Township, and others. And Genoa Township, I forgot their response last night. And in their response, it states, and this is a certified response. This is why I do the FOIA. The responses that come back on a FOIA are certified, meaning they can be used as evidence in a court of law. And it states that in regards to the documentation, the Genoa Charter Township is still enforcing the FBI bulletin and did instruct the township departments to view sovereign citizens as a threat to democracy. And 2, documentation of any forms, instructions, mandates, or orders issued to the Genoa Township Board by the board to the attorney of record that represents Genoa Township, its officials and employees in all departments contained within Genoa Township on how to engage with sovereign citizens is denied because the records do not exist. Now, that means that one of two things. Either Dave Burris is a rogue attorney just doing whatever he wants without Genoa Township's knowledge, which that's hard to believe that Genoa Township just writes a blank check to their attorneys and say, do whatever you got to do, and not keep the township advised as to what is happening. So that means either Genoa Township is extremely derelict in their duties and writing these blank checks to these bar attorneys, letting them do whatever they want, or Genoa Township is trying to cover their own butt and say, oh, we didn't have any knowledge, so we're going to throw this guy under the bus and try and get out from under this, because we realize if we admit that we are enforcing the FBI bulletin, we're committing domestic terrorism as a public official. We're violating our oath. We're committing treason. Now, an additional FOIA also went out to the Livingston County Board of Commissioners, and they're basically not responding. They're not giving a response. So they're on the hook as well, because the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Schaefer v. Kent County, making the counties responsible and liable for the actions of their employees. Well, Dave Burris and the law firm of Seward Henderson is also an attorney of record with Livingston County. So, and the Livingston County Board of Commissioners is the one who cuts the checks for the budget for the courts. So it's all one big happy family. They all know what's going on. They can't deny it. And Dave Burris put it on and for the record in the circuit court. Judge Geddes refused rebuttals to it. So what does that tell you? I mean, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, so this now is going to escalate to where we can now bring claims. Anybody can bring a claim against these public officials. The courts are acting in defiance of their own oath, and we need to hold them accountable now. Now, the last I checked, my 3 cases before Daniel B. Bain are still showing that they're disposed. Disposed means that they've been resolved and are closed. And yet, even though he's been disqualified, even though the cases are closed, he's still issuing bench warrants against me on those cases. Has no authority to do so. So I consider this a threat against my person, a physical, personal threat against me. So this is going to be brought before the DOJ and a few other officials. I'm still waiting for the response from the FBI on this. So, yeah, this is moving forward. Now, the Sheriff's Department, you just had the Sheriff's Department FOIA response up. And I highlighted their response to this, which was to, it is hereby certified. The request is denied to the best of my knowledge, information believed. No public records exist under the name set forth in your request, nor under any other name, under another name reasonably known to the county, if you believe the records do exist. So the Sheriff's Department also is lying about this, because I've had deputies tell me and approach me and say, "Oh, you're one of those sovereign citizens." Well, where does that rhetoric come from? Can only come from one place. The FBI bulletin specifically states they've been notified all law enforcement departments and agencies. So who's lying here?
Do you have something that has the FBI document in it?
Yes, there is a court brief that has it in there. I don't have. I will have to get consent from the gal to see if I can send that over to you, because it's in her paperwork.
Can you just redact your name?
I can't, because of the way it was sent to me.
Gotcha, no worries.
To edit it. So, but if she's okay with me releasing that to you, I will. And I'll find out if she will agree to that or not. Okay. I don't think it'll be a problem, but I want to make sure before I do it.
I think that's proper and a good thing to do.
So, but yeah, these are nothing but criminals. They're all acting as criminals. And when you've got the federal court, Judge DeClerc from the Michigan Eastern District stating that judges have absolute immunity, including criminal activity. I've got the order right here. It's in writing. And so what prevents, I know you guys were talking earlier, what prevents a judge wearing his black satanic robe from shooting you dead in the courtroom and saying, "Oh, that was just a judicial act and I have absolute immunity over that"? Nothing.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Should we even be entering these courtrooms? No, we should not. Submit your paperwork. Now, here's the thing. They request that you appear, or they're asking for that all caps name to appear. Okay, well, how does a man or a woman appear? Can you disappear? I can't disappear. So if I can't disappear, that means I can't appear. The only thing that can appear is your paperwork. So you file an appearance by way of your paperwork. And I would just stay the hell out of those courts and say,
how do you file that? You know, as a, you know, that's how you're appearing.
For many, well, there's different ways you can do it. The way I've been doing it, and see, they deal in artificial. They deal with artificial entities. When you walk in there, and I've had judges go just lose it with me, that when I sit there and I go, "Well, I'm a man." "No, you're a person." Well, no, wait a minute. Black law's definition of person is an artificial entity. I'm not an artificial entity. I am what I am, created by God. So
what do they say usually?
They lose it with me. I've actually had judges. I was there to testify in a case, and they went to swear me in. And I said I was a man, and they would not let me testify because I said I was a man. They said, "No, you have to say you're a person." And I said, "I'm not going to say I'm a person. I'm a man." "No, we're not going to let you testify."
Oh.
Really? So this is the game. It's a word game with them. And so they don't have no jurisdiction over the living. They only have jurisdiction over the dead. So by going in there and saying you're a man, I am not what you claim to be, that name that's in your paperwork, that all caps name, which is sometimes spelled backwards, well, if it's backwards, that's definitely not me.
Did they actually do it backwards? I've never seen
Yeah,
it.
sometimes they'll print it in there backwards. And so I look at him, I said, Judge, the doctrine of idem sonus is heavily prejudicing me here. That looks like me, sounds like me, but that is not me, because that's an artificial. I'm not artificial. I'm a man under God. And there's a little more to that doctrine, but the doctrine of idem sonus is really something that people need to learn. Also the fact that, and I've gone where I won't pass the bar. And they're like, oh, you need to step forward. I'm not stepping into that jurisdiction. I don't feel safe in that jurisdiction because you're threatening me. You've got all these guys with guns surrounding me. Why should I enter that jurisdiction? Why should I put myself in that position? I'm not going to. I'm here to resolve the matter. And I've had Judge Bain, I've said that many times. Judge Bain, I'm here to resolve all the issues. No, we're not going to do that. What? You don't want to resolve the issues? What are we doing here then? So the other thing is that I've also declared myself as an American national. Now, the reason why I declare that is that under 18 USC 112A, an American national is an internationally protected person. So because I'm internationally protected, I am not subject to be harmed by them with their made up rules and guidelines and ordinances. And if they use acts of intimidation, threats, coercion against you as an American citizen, as an American national, I'm sorry, you can report that to the U.S. Attorney General. And under
how do you declare yourself that?
You do what we define as a status change. So you're basically putting on and for the record that I am not what they claim I am. I am a man or a woman under God. And we put a bunch of paperwork together to make that declaration and get it on and for the record. You publish it in the legal news. You get it filed with the county deeds office. There's different ways of dealing with that.
Could you send me a copy of that at some point in time?
Yeah, we can go over that another time, but there's
I would love to. I've got so much to learn. Wow.
So when, as an American national, if you're threatened as an internationally, under the international protection, the U.S. Attorney General under 18 USC 112 subsection F can use any federal, state, local authorities and jurisdictions, including the Army, Navy, and Air Force, to bring those who have made those violations into compliance and can arrest them. So that's what I'm doing. I'm contacting the Attorney General, letting them know that as an internationally protected under the statute, that I am a sovereign citizen, American national, and as such, my God-given rights have been violated. And I need assistance in this matter. We have a judge that has gone rogue and needs to be held accountable. Now, last week, they received Judge Bain, Judge McGivney, and the court, along with the prosecutor for Livingston County, all received a package from me. And in that package, it was an order from the Office of Executor to cease and desist all unlawful acts and an opportunity to cure. And part of that order was given to Judge McGivney. Now, he's the chief judge for Livingston County. He was given 3 business days, to contact the FBI, the DOJ, the Livingston County Board of Commissioners, the Supreme Court Administrator's Office, the Bar Association, and report Judge Bain to them for all the unlawful acts that he has been committing. And then he has 7 days from there to send to me written confirmation that he did do this. failure to do so, he then becomes he can be charged under 18 USC 2331 subpart 5 for not only domestic terrorism, but for he also can be charged for misprision of treason, because he has an obligation to report these findings. And I put it all out there, showing that Judge Bain has no delegated authority. He has no jurisdiction. And the main reason why he didn't have jurisdiction on any of these cases is because of the Michigan State Police. They're the ones who were involved in these cases, along with the Green Oak Police. And I did the FOIA to the Michigan State Police requesting their de jure documents. Came back, no such documents exist. They are a de facto department. They can do advisory items, such as they can investigate a homicide, they can investigate a fatal car crash, make their recommendations and give their findings. They do not have the authority to stop, detain, arrest, or issue securities instruments in the form of tickets. They don't have that authority. And because they don't have that authority, Green Oak Police, and to simplify this, any township law enforcement department, any city law enforcement department are also de facto. There's only one de jure department, and that's the sheriff's department. That's it. All the others are de facto. Now, does that mean, oh, well, now we're going to have, chaos in the streets? No. If these officers want to continue in law enforcement, they need to become sheriff deputies.
I agree with you 100%, because when you have a unionized police force, you have a problem. There's no accountability there. They can do whatever they want, and they've created a system where they really actually have false immunity, but they've created a system to protect the brotherhood or the sisterhood.
Yeah, where in the Constitution is it permissible for our public functionaries to unionize?
It's not.
It's not. So goodbye police union, goodbye teachers union. I mean, could you imagine if the Senate or the House were to unionize? Oh, we asked for a raise, we didn't get it, so we're going to go on strike. May not be a bad thing, but the point is that no, it's not lawful. It's not in the Constitution for them to be able to do this. So there's a usurpation of authority. They have no right to do so. The only way they can do this is if they were to incorporate. If they're acting as a corporation and not as a public functionary under the Constitution, now they can do that. But now they're admitting that they are not a public functionary under the Constitution. They are usurpers of that name and title. And now we can hold them accountable for that. Because nowhere in the Constitution does it say that they can incorporate. That's not how this is supposed to work. And that's what they're doing. And
most of the townships and counties are already functioning as a corporation.
Correct.
And they've got the charters and everything.
Yes. Yeah. So are they actually representing the people, or are they representing their corporate interests? Get them to admit that. They don't want to. They don't want to talk about it because it shows the fraud that they're placing upon the people. And this is how we got to start taking back our country, is eliminating all of these frauds that they've been laying down and committing against us.
Do you have a list, like a bullet point list of frauds that they've committed in this way?
I think the list would be shorter of that, which they have not committed fraud on. It just, yeah, I mean, everything. Well, millages are a big one. We're not supposed to be doing millages. That's unconstitutional. The only branch that can do revenue raising is the legislative branch. But see, they BS everybody into believing, well, we're going to give you the opportunity to make that decision for yourself. You're taxing yourself, and they get to run as a scapegoat on it. Well, we didn't do it to you. You did it to yourself.
It's always that compliance thing.
Yeah. Now I ran into a firefighter, local firefighter, and we got talking about the millages. He had no idea about the fact that millages were unconstitutional. He also admitted to me that he goes, yeah, I don't understand how these millages for the fire department keep passing. He goes, we're not asking for any more money. We got more money than we need. We don't know where the money's going. But yet the millage keeps passing. They have no idea where the funds are going. They get dispersed into the general fund and then allocated to wherever or whatever they want according to their,
Well, anytime we pass anything, I have a question because our voting systems and our elections are completely rigged.
Yes. Yeah, they are. So this is, everybody's got to start educating themselves. There's a lot out there. And my approach to this is similar to Douglas MacArthur, Pacific Campaign, where he was faced with thousands of islands occupied by the Japanese. Can't liberate them all. Can't take on all that at once. But if you look at and take out certain specific islands, he knew that the other islands around would fall. So what I do, I went after the Michigan State Police. Prove to me your de jure. They can't. Well, what does that say about your city and township police departments then? Now they fall. So that's the system by which we can apply to start systematically exposing these departments and agencies, specific ones, for who and what they really are. And then all the other ones around it that are supported by that also fall. The DNR is another one that's de facto.
Oh, I'm going to tell you what, that has got me just cranked because there's only, I think, two sections that this is quoted in the Michigan Constitution. The DNR is completely off the rails.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the DNR is one of the 20 departments created by executive order of the governor. They shouldn't be carrying a gun. They have no authority to issue tickets. That's revenue raising. Police departments are not supposed to be issuing tickets. That's revenue raising. That's delegated to the legislative branch, not the executive branch. So they're violating the Constitution and their oath just by writing a ticket. So there's a lot that everybody needs to start educating themselves on. Pick one thing and run with that, and start with a FOIA. That's the cheapest, easiest way to do this.
Okay, show everybody how to submit a FOIA. What do they do?
When you submit a FOIA at the state level, any response you get back again is certified, so it's evidence in a court. And they have 5 days in which to respond. They can ask for a one-time an extension for 10 days. After that, they have to respond. If they don't, you can actually bring in action against them for failure to respond. I know a few people that apparently they got something were from $7,000 to $10,000 in a settlement for the department or whatever that they FOIA'd not responding. So there is remedy on that side too.
What does your FOIA documentation look like?
I'm sorry?
What does the FOIA documentation look like? What does it look like that you send out?
I sent you some examples in Telegram. And
today or before?
I'm sorry?
Today or before?
I believe I sent them today. I did a big blast this morning.
Okay, there you go. Yep, that's what I did put up actually. So, hang on. We got that one and we got this one. Those are responses.
Those are responses? Okay.
Yeah. I was wondering what the actual original FOIA looked like.
If you go to the Genoa one, I think at the very end will be the FOIA.
Oh,
several pages. Okay. Yep. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. There it is. Okay, that's so the FOIA that I sent to them.
Okay.
So basically, all I did was ask them a couple of simple questions. You don't want to overburden them because you get too many. If you go more than 3 questions, I find that they get overwhelmed. But it's very simple questions. The second page is basically the codes and statutes referencing their obligation to answer the FOIA. So that's just a standard part. But if you want to copy and paste this, and all you do is put your information in there, I'll send you all the ones I sent to the FBI and everybody else so that everybody can get blasted on that. But all you're doing is asking for documentation. You don't want to ask for their legal opinion. You're not asking for things like that. You want a document from them. And 99% of the FOIAs that I put out, I already know the answer to the questions that I'm asking, but I need them to answer it still because their response is certified. So by asking them for documents that I know don't exist, and I already know they don't exist because I know they're de facto, but I'm getting them to admit it. Now it's in their own words, their own admission that they are de facto. And that's the key, because otherwise you're going into court saying, oh, they're de facto, we'll prove it. Well, kind of hard to do. Here I have by their own admission they're de facto. So this is how I use this against them. I'm using their own words against them through this. And it's a cheap way of getting their admission.
Do you send this through the mail certified, or do you drop it off and have them stamp it, copy? What do you do?
Sometimes I do, depending on the urgency and what I want to and how I want to use it. The state police, I did certified. Genoa Township, I just did regular mail. So, you can do it either way. If there's more urgency to it, then you can do certified. But if you got, money's an issue or something like that, just do it regular mail. So the only problem with regular mail is they could use the excuse, well, we never got it. Okay, well, I'll give you one. The second one will come certified. So if they ever pull that stunt with me.
Can we go through the sections of this so people can kind of look at this and explain to them how you did the sections and why this is important?
Sure. Let me get
you got the title up here first of all. So we got to make sure we get the title in, date, their name and address of where you're asking for the information, what it's regarding. 2, coordinator described as. You're not even calling out people's names in here. You're just using their titles, correct?
Correct. Yeah. Unless, you can dig around for the actual person, but sometimes it's not, sometimes they change positions. So just simply putting FOIA coordinator covers whoever the current person is in that position. So this request under the Free Information Act, 442 of 1976. So that's all general, common knowledge there. You're giving the jurisdiction of the document, and then your name, and then request a full disclosure and release of all records and or data contained within your department and or agency, and that a copy of the following requested documents be provided to me as they relate to the following, but not limited to, Genoa Charter Township rules, policy, guidelines, and any other administrative rules or laws created through the use of the Administrative Procedures Act of 1969, or any other external sources of information related to the requested documents and information listed below. So by putting all that in there, I'm covering all the areas that they can try and manipulate or try and hide things. The APA is what they love to use to create their own rules and guidelines and enforce them as if they're laws. And the courts back them up on that, which they're not supposed to do. So I put that in there just to cover all the bases. And then the next paragraph, I reference, what it is I'm looking for in documents. In September of 2011, the FBI issued a bulletin entitled Sovereign Citizens, a Growing Domestic Threat to Law Enforcement by the FBI's Counter-Terrorism Analyst Section, Volume 80, Number 9 at page 20 through 24. Now that is what was in the court brief that Dave Burris filed with the circuit court. That was the title of it, and that's the reference to it. Whereas the FBI states that sovereign citizens are an extremist or terrorist movement engaged in illegal activities. So my first request, please provide documentation. The Genoa Charter Township is still enforcing this FBI bulletin and did instruct the township departments to view sovereign citizens as threat to the democracy. Now I put democracy because that's what they believe. They use democracy, and it's kind of
correcting them. You're not correcting them. You're using their own language against them.
Yes, because if I get them to admit, oh yeah, it's democracy, well, you just violated your oath because we're supposed to be a republic and you're supposed to guarantee it. So, and I also put in there, are you still enforcing? Not are you enforcing? Are you? It's still enforcing. So meaning, are you going to admit that you're enforcing it, or you're going to say that, oh no, we never did this, which means you were enforcing it, but now decided not to. The second question or request is, please provide documentation of any forms, instructions, mandates, or orders issued from the Genoa Charter Township Board to the attorney of record that represents Genoa Charter Township, its officials and employees, and all of the departments contained within the Genoa Charter Township on how to engage with sovereign citizens. Now, I'm asking for the attorney of record. Did you give him instructions to do this? The third one, please provide the names of all law firms and attorneys that represent Genoa Charter Township Board, departments, officials, and employees as of January 1st of 2023. So their response, what I'm asking for, is very simple. It's very specific. And their response to all this was on number one and number two, well, those documents don't exist. There's nothing there that exists. Well, let's take a look at number two again. I'm asking for, did they instruct the attorney to use this bulletin as regarding sovereign citizens? And they're saying, no, we didn't. So who's lying? Is the attorney running rogue on the taxpayer's dime because he's getting paid via tax dollars? He's on retainer, and everybody's tax dollars are paying him to do this. So is he doing this on his own? Or was he instructed by the township? And what the township is telling me is that, oh, there's no mandate, there's no orders. Well, then what? This guy's acting on his own. You have no knowledge of this lawsuit. You had to have approved it. You're the ones who are claiming that this gal is in violation of your zoning ordinances. So how did you not know about this lawsuit? How did you not know what this attorney is filing on behalf of the township? Somebody's lying. So now that Dave Burris is on the hook. No matter what, he's on the hook here. Now, he should be reported. If he is rogue, he should be disbarred by the Bar Association for doing this. If this is not what if they're not doing this, if this is not what they're enforcing, then he should be disbarred for doing what he just did, because it's slanderous. It's a hate crime. He has violated every ethical code as an attorney that they, according to their own standards under the canons. His law firm is on the hook for this because he also represents his law firm. He also represents the county as a whole for Livingston County because he represents them as well. And I also know that that law firm represents judges from time to time. So we got a real problem here if this guy's rogue, but I don't think he's rogue. I can't sit here and absolutely with confidence say that the township had no idea what's going on. They signed off on this. They signed off on this. They knew exactly what was going on. They had to have talks with the attorney as far as instructing him on what to do and how to do it. So yeah, they're lying. They're trying to cover their butts, and that's. They're going to get, they're going to get on the hook for this, and we should all place them on the hook. Everybody should be filing these FOIAs, and again, I'll send them to you. So you can, if anybody wants to do it, send them a FOIA requesting the same information. If their responses are all the same, then we know their intent. If we get more and more people getting involved on this, we can show intent on what they're doing. And this is their house of cards is going to come down, because if these attorneys are not sanctioned and disbarred for doing this, that means the Bar Association is supporting it. If the Supreme Court Administrator's Office doesn't sanction and disbar, then they're involved. If the judges don't announce publicly that, oh no, we're not doing that, then they're involved as well. The county, they have to go public with this. And that was something that I also put into the order that I sent to the court. If your intent is not to enforce this, then you need to go public. I'm not talking about a little bulletin on your website. I'm saying I want 2, 4, and 7. I want CNN. I want Fox News. I want it all over the internet that you're not enforcing this. Because until I hear that you are not enforcing it, that means you are enforcing it. And if you are enforcing it, that makes you a domestic terrorist under federal law.
So
I'm giving you the opportunity to cure. Announce publicly that you're not enforcing this. Your failure to do so, what other determination can then be, can be made from that?
do you send notices before you file a case?
Depending on what it is, usually yes. On Judge Bain, I sent many notices, notice of liability, notice of non-response, and notices of default on many different things. I've had him defaulted out at least a dozen times on different issues. And that's another reason why that amplifies the disqualification of Bain. Because when they don't respond and then their silence is acquiescence, that they're admitting to what I'm claiming through affidavits is true and factual. And they've never rebutted anything I've stated in an affidavit. They've never rebutted anything in a notice of liability. So yeah, they're by their own admission, they're committing treason. They're committing domestic terrorism. They're operating with no delegation of authority. I've asked for their license to practice law. Well, where's that? Under Article 6, Section 19 of the Michigan Constitution, in order to sit on the bench, you have to have a license to practice law. I've yet to see one because they don't exist. So do we have judges? No, we can't have any judges because there's no license to practice law. And if they're going to proclaim that their bar card is a license and they self-license and they're not a government agency, the bar is not a government agency, then what prohibits you or I from self-licensing? If I have a business, can I self-license the same as the Bar Association? Sure, I could. 10th Amendment allows me to do that. So could I call myself a licensed attorney? Sure, I could under the 10th Amendment because I can self-license just like they do.
Oh.
But the U.S. Supreme Court has already made the determination that there's no such thing as a license because we all have the right to access the judiciary.
And that's under
A
what?
license is required.
How do you prove that?
I've got about a dozen different court cases on that subject where the Supreme Court has ruled that there's no such thing as a license and that a bar card is not a license. It's just a membership card.
Could you send those to me also?
Sure. Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
My Bambas file is growing exponentially.
So yeah, this is what if everybody gets on the bandwagon, I mean, I would FOIA the sheriff's department, everybody, and we can start holding them accountable. We can bring federal claims against them for their acts. And this is how we get back to a republic, start holding them accountable.
This is really extraordinary. I absolutely love doing this and digging through what you've actually done. I don't even know what to say. It's so amazing.
So yeah, I find the FOIA is the cheapest, easiest way to get involved. That's the first step. That's easy.
And it's just a letter. It's not like you have to go through jump hoops or anything. You just walk down there, hand it to them if it's your township, or mail it to them, depending on where you're going to send it. Take the letter and reproduce it and figure out what you're looking for. So this is not legal advice, just so everybody knows, so that if we've got any salivating, unconstitutional attorneys out there, go pound sand. This is exploring what we could or should be doing, but don't construe it as legal advice.
Well, actually, I found out that I'm actually under investigation by the bar for practicing law without a license.
Oh, really?
Yes.
They put that in my pro se case, that I'm practicing law without a license. And I thought that was really funny. Well, then why can we sue pro se if we can't represent ourselves or in jury proprio? Why is that? Same term. They like to put the fancy terms out there to make you feel stupid, but it doesn't work. I
had an Ann Arbor case, and they were the licensing issue came up. And I said, Judge, when I think of a license, I think of doctors. Right off the bat, I think of a doctor. Now, a doctor has to be licensed to practice medicine, and doctors, they're there to save lives, right, Judge? And that's why they have a license. They're there to save lives. And yet, approximately half the population of the United States are women, and they don't have a license to practice medicine, yet they can still have an abortion. She did not like that statement. So, and the
Oh,
attorney
thanks.
on the other side was trying to demonize sovereign citizens, and I had a few comments about that one, and she shut it all down. She did not want to hear it on the record. She, you know, it was a dead issue as far as she was concerned. So she, you know, she closed that right up. So it was kind of, you know, some of the people, my court watchers, were getting chuckles out of it, and you know, other people were like, you know, oh my goodness. And so, but yeah, it's just, you know, and you know, the other thing is, you know, have you yet? I don't know how much time you've ever spent in a courtroom. But a lot of people are noticing that when a judge enters the courtroom, they don't announce who he is. I've actually, you know, they go, well, state your appearance. Well, who's asking? I need to know who you are up there in that black robe. You haven't announced yourself. I want to know who you are.
What's the response to that?
They won't answer. They won't answer.
So why are they doing it that way? I
don't know. And so we don't rise. When they say all rise, well, I can't rise. Only the dead can rise. So we all sit there, and it gets them all spooked. I mean, we've had court administrators come in. You need to rise. No, we're not rising. We don't stand when he walks in or walks out, because we can't rise. We're not dead. We're the living. Only the dead rise. So
yeah, I'm sure they get a little flustered when you come around.
Yes. So, yeah, we you know, it gets a little comical in there sometimes. We do have fun. I'm accused of having too much fun in the courtroom sometimes, but
well, the next time you go, I wanna go attend. I think that would be really fun and see exactly. Bird Nest Rat Fest says America is hijacked and by you know who. Yeah, we do know who. So that's interesting. So what else do you have is there anything else you want to talk about today? Because I really think this is great to have you on right after John Tatar, and then we can go through stuff and further clarify things. I really enjoy this a lot.
I don't know. Does anybody have any questions regarding doing a FOIA or any of this information? But
I just see, you know, you've got a template here. You can use this as a template, put in your own words, and let's figure out some things we can FOIA. And even if you FOIA something really simple, I think it's a good practice to just try it. Mm-hmm. You go in and you do something simple, real simple, so that maybe there's only one or two things that come back to you, and then next time it'll be easier. So you have to take baby steps.
I've got a lot of people right now FOIAing their local law enforcement and asking to produce their de jure documents, and they're coming back. You know, they can't produce them, because they don't exist. So and there's an easy one right there.
What would that be comprised of?
Basically, you're just asking under Norton v. Shelby County. I put in there, and I'll send you a copy of one. I described Norton v. Shelby County, what the definition of de jure and de facto is, and then I ask. Then comes my ask. Please produce documents to show and prove that your department is de jure pursuant to Norton v. Shelby County. And I also asked, where did they acquire the delegated authority to usurp, ignore, or violate a U.S. Supreme Court? And I cite a U.S. Supreme Court case on the right to travel. And they come back, no such documents exist. Well, then why are you stopping people in their travels and issuing tickets? See, now you can use this in court. You get a ticket. Now you can bring this FOIA in and say, Judge, I got certified proof right here that they didn't have the delegated authority to stop me by their own admission. That's how you use it against them. So you can do that with the police departments. You can do that with your zoning board. Where's their proof that they're de jure? There is none. So are their ordinances enforceable? No, they're not. And for them to do it is a usurpation of authority. So
well, I think we need to look at
little ways that you can start picking away and picking away at their little false utopia.
Yeah, I really like this because I think if we have a plan, like a bulletproof plan of some sort on what people should be thinking about and doing to hold people accountable, I think it's important. And it's going to take a whole bunch of us, not just one of us, to pull this the nation back into a republic instead of a communist takeover with pretended public functionaries and their pretended legislation. It's all pretended.
Mm-hmm. The republic has always been there. It's just got a bunch of crud on top of it, and we got to clean the crud off.
Yeah, it's overlaid. It's like going through a mud puddle picking up crap.
Yeah.
You know.
So
That's
we
where
got
we are right
we
now.
got to take it through the car wash and wash it off and restore its lust again.
Yeah, I think that's cool. Well, I tell you what, let's plan on next week. I think I have somebody scheduled that I'm trying to get on for quite a long time, and we've had a rough time. So maybe I can move you next week. Is that possible? Or is Tuesday or Wednesday?
Next week, I don't think it's going to work for me, but maybe the week after.
Okay, that's good. Then it works out really well. So that'll be great. Then the next week we'll talk, and then we'll figure out what we're going to put out next week to teach people. So are there any last words you have to say? Then we're going to say a prayer and go on to our days.
Just get active. Got to be active. Sitting on the sideline doesn't win the game. So put me in, coach. Is what should be everybody's motto. And get active and get out there and start doing something, because if you're going to sit on the sideline not doing anything, then what else are you going to expect but them to continue doing what they're doing? And there's nothing opposing what they're doing. So just have to stop giving consent to their unlawful acts. Yeah.
I want to talk to you some more about this DNR thing, as well as when we get offline, this falsifying documents, because we touched on it last week, because I want to, this can't just go on. I mean, this is outrageous. It's shocking what they're capable of doing and what they do, what their MO actually is. So let's say a prayer. We're going to go on to our day. Dear Heavenly Father, thanks so much for Mike and for John and all the wonderful people that are willing to come forward and actually fight for this nation, not just sit around and complain and whine and sob and eat free cookies and such, but actually do something. I ask that you would inspire many, many other people to come forward and join in this fight to restore our republic, because that's where we're at right now. And we know you've given us the United States of America as a gift, and it just needs a little maintenance. We're so thankful that you put us here now and that there's a purpose for all things. I ask that your favor would rest strongly upon John and Mike and their groups of people that they work within, to give them wisdom and courage and also honor to do the right thing when they see it. You've been a great friend to us, and we all want to be a friend to you. In the name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen. This is where we do it, boys and girls. We go to that part of the show. Ding, 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 ding. This is my 2002 protest. It's going to continue on until we have changed behavior. So, but at any rate, please go to BrandenburgForGovernor.com, because I'm the best non-conceded who has ever not conceded in the history of the United States of America. And I'd like to talk to the President of the United States, President Donald J. Trump, about this in cowboy boots, who wears them better, and then talk about real stuff. So with that said, everybody, thanks for joining us today. I'll be on with Liberty Essentials tomorrow, and we will continue to talk about these issues that are so important. And Greg Martini's on tomorrow too, with We the People notices, how you reach out to our public functionaries. Something came up yesterday when we were talking, and I just got to tell you that the pen is mightier than the sword. We need to remember this. You do not have the right to protest. It doesn't give you the right to protest. It gives you the right to redress grievances. And I think that that's something different than protesting. Do you have the right? Yeah, probably yes. Should you exercise that right? Probably no. They're laughing at you looking out the windows as you stand around the Capitol, jumping around like a bunch of deranged monkeys out there. It's not the best way to do this. The best way to do this is be professional, address this in a lawful manner, hold them accountable like Mike and John are doing, and you can make some real changes, and that's exactly what we're going to do. Have a great day today. God bless you. God bless all those whom you love, and God bless America. Stay in line, Mike. I'm going to go ahead and end this thing, and then the real conversation starts.